Hello everyone, it's me again, Undead Viking, coming to you with another video review of a board game. It is a Kickstarter board game time again. That was a weird sentence. Let's try that again. I'm reviewing another game that is in Kickstarter right now. If you're unfamiliar with the Kickstarter program, and I highly doubt that you are, but just in case, Kickstarter is a website that allows prospective publishers of board games, music, movies, and what have you, the ability to showcase their idea, ask people to contribute money towards that idea so that it can get published. It's a very, very innovative, very new, very exciting way that people are using this to make their dreams and their ambitions come to life. And of course, you know, there are people that weigh the pros and the cons with that, but what have you. I've done quite a few of these videos, and they are a review of a game that hasn't been published yet. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how this game works, and there's always the caveat, if you will, that the components that you're going to see and possibly some of the gameplay may change between now and the time that the final published game comes out. But regardless, just keep that in mind as I go through this review. The board game in question is Titans of Industry. Titans of Industry is for 3 to 5 people. A game usually clocks in right around 90 minutes. It can be less with less people, and it definitely does shorten down once people understand the game. It is a Euro game. Take that for what it is. It is a resource collection worker placement game. Something that, yes, I can see a lot of you like, and wondering, okay, so what, you know? But you know what? A lot of games like that are out there, and I own quite a few, and I enjoyed them a great deal. If you want to know what the theme is that the game is set in the 1920s, and this is right around the cusp of the innovations of technology and industry, when entrepreneurs and innovative businessmen were able to take advantage of the change and become, well, wealthy and rich as the world changed around them. So, I'm going to show you how you play the game. I'm going to show you the components that I have, and once again, keep in mind that those aren't necessarily what the components are going to look like when the game gets published. And then I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of Titans of Industry, and then after all is said and done, it'll be your turn to decide whether or not you wish to back this particular project. And hopefully, if it gets enough backing, you will see a finished product, if you decided to back it, show up at your door once it does get published and created and sent out. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and show you how to play Titans of Industry. Okay, this is the board for Titans of Industry, and while I will say that this is a prototype, because this isn't, so I don't know for certain if this is going to be what the end game, once it's published, will look like. So just whenever I show you the components here, just keep that in mind as I show them to you. But I will say this, I do think that this is actually a really, really nice prototype. So it was kind of neat, this version, I guess, they sent you. But that's neither here nor there. This game is primarily a worker placement game. It is a resource collection, turn resources into victory points type game. You can notice that there's spots. If I had one, you know, clinkety clink as far as worker placement games, I usually like my locations that I'm placing my workers much more visible. You know, I want it to be very obvious about the spots that I'm picking, and some of the places are pretty obvious. Like here, the advances down here, there's, you know, these little tables, I guess, and then you place your worker on those tables, or down here when you're training new workers, there's obvious spots here. But some other spots, it's just like, you know, corporate strategy. I mean, it's just kind of vague over here. Then the doorway, and then the services, there's tables, and then, you know, I mean, it isn't. I guess, I mean, it's obvious once you look at it, but a lot of times when I'm playing worker placement games, it's just very distinct. It's like, place your guy here, this is what you get type of thing. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through how a turn goes in Titans of Industry. Before the game starts, you have this deck of cards that is the corporate strategy cards. And each player, you play up to 5 people, will get 3 of these cards. And they'll look at them, and they'll pick one that they want to keep to use in the game. So some of them, like this one, receive 1 victory point for each factory you own. That's an end game situation. Like at the very end of the game, you'll turn this over and you'll say, well, I've got 6 factories, so I get 6 extra victory points, or what have you. And the other players have no idea what these are, so it's like kind of that secret little roll or secret little victory point bonus that they won't know about. However, there are other cards that, like this one, that say, receive 1 victory point for each set of 2 goods traded to the supply, maximum of 12 victory points. Now, this is not used at the end of the game. This is used during the game. You would turn, once you, like if you have a bunch of goods and you just want to get a big giant chunk of victory points, you'll use the spot of corporate strategies here, and you'll turn this in, and you'll gain those 12 victory points. So there's 2 different types. Ones that you'll be using during the game, and ones that you will be holding on to gain those bonuses that nobody can be certain of what you're going to get. Now then, each person gets their set of workers. You'll start with 4 workers. I'm just grab these 4 red guys here, and when the game starts, and I should mention that up here, these are just the different commodities. This particular prototype, my commodities are actually these, pretty nice little cardboard chits, actually. And they work just fine. I know that if the game meets certain stretch goals, they are going to actually have wooden pieces for these. So, and then when the game begins, you start off by there's these 2 decks. And these are businesses, and these are factories. And depending on the number of people that are playing, you'll take certain cards of these out of the deck. If you look at the back of these cards, you'll see that there's like a number of players up in the top corner, which will tell you, like, this one's for 5 players. So you see 5 dots. And this one's for 3 players, and so you'd take, if you had 3 players, you'd take the 5-dot one out. But regardless, I'm pretending I'm playing a 5-player game, so I'm leaving all the cards in. And what you do is you take 5 of the top cards, and if you notice, these are level 1 cards, and about halfway through, you'll find level 2, and then on the bottom, you'll find level 3. And these ramp up as far as the commodities that they're making. And so the first thing you do is you take 5 of these, and these are shuffled, obviously, so you don't know exactly which ones are going to show up. And then these are businesses, and you take 5 of these. And whoever the first player is, and there's a first player track, which is right here, and so 1 is red. You would lay these out on the table, and each person would look at these cards, and they would determine, they would have the option of purchasing one. And with money, and level 1 cards will always cost $1, as you can see, $1, and they have upkeep. Like this is an upkeep of $1, this is an upkeep of $2, and it's important to note upkeep only happens, like if you'll notice, this is the turn track, and there's this little dollar sign. So upkeep happens in 1923, 1925, and 1927. At the end of the turn, you actually have to pay all the upkeep and all the buildings that you have. So anyway, what happens is that the first person will choose if they want to build one of these businesses, and then the next person picks, and the next person picks, and so on and so forth. And you can pass at any time, but then what happens is that normally, since there's 10 and if there's 5 people, what'll happen is that each person would, technically probably get 2. But if somebody passes, you have the option of like someone picking up an extra one, because there'd be ones left over. If after everybody passes, if there's any of these left, they're just thrown away. Nobody gets them. And then they'll be replaced at the beginning of the next turn. You'll draw 5 new ones. Now, just so I can explain these really quick, it's pretty simple. Factories produce goods. So like if you use this spot, it'll create 1 wood and 1 stone. Businesses sell goods. So you notice this, it says 1 basic good. So you can see bricks, wood, or stone. And if you sell 1, you get to sell 1 basic good, and you can see it's worth $2 if you sell it. Now, some of these if I can find one here, and of course I didn't grab one. Let me find one out of the deck. Some of the cards will actually say, here, this business, you sell 1 wood and 1 stone, you can take $3 or 3 victory points. The victory point down here is the number of victory points this building is worth at the end of the game. So that's how these buildings work. Now, buildings can actually be used by anybody. So if your building is sitting there unused by yourself, another player can place a worker on it and say, I'm going to use your business. If they use your business, any number of people can use a business. You can have 20 people on top of your business selling wood and stone. If they use your business, they get the reward, $3 or 3 victory points. However, the person who owns this gets a victory point for doing so. So, just important to note. In a factory, however, only 1 worker can be present on the factory. So, like if somebody used your concrete factory, you would get 1 victory point, but you wouldn't be able to use this. Now, this little symbol down here is called the advancement. Basically, there's 2 spots on the board, one that gives advancements on factories, and one that gives advancements on businesses. If you get an advancement on a factory, you create an extra resource. If you get an advancement on a business, whatever reward you get to increase it by 2. So this would be worth $6. That one I showed you earlier that had $3 or 3 victory points, you could choose $5 or 5 victory points. So you can see, like, if you create a business and give it an advancement, and it's very lucrative for people, they're going to be using your business. But the nice thing is that you not only do you get 1 victory point for somebody using your spot that has the advancement, you also get 1 extra one. So you get 2 victory points for every time somebody else uses your business. That's how the buildings work, and I'm really not going to come back to them. They're pretty standard. The factories create stuff, the businesses sell stuff. Now then, the board itself, I'm just going to kind of go through all the different spots, and I'm going to show you what each one of them do. These 4 spots are very simple. This is wood, stone, brick, and money. I don't really like these. I use poker chips. I say that in almost every single game that has money tokens. I don't know. I just think I like poker chips. But this is what was given me, and I'm certain they'll look better than this. But so you would place, that there. At the beginning round, you place that there. You place a stone there, and you place a wood there. If somebody takes a person and puts the guy there, they just collect a resource. Pretty simple. Much like games like Agricola and other things, if it isn't taken, you continue to stack those. So, like after the first turn, if nobody took that, next turn, you add 1 to the pile. So slowly but surely, these locations will be more and more lucrative for people to take. Corporate Strategies allows you to draw a new card from the Corporate Strategy deck. They ramp up as far as how much they cost. You can only ever get 3 of these, so choose wisely when you do get those. Over here is buy the Corporate Strategy card. That's where you buy it. This is where you play the Corporate Strategy card, but that's where you buy the Corporate Strategy. This is buying goods for $3,000. You can choose any 2 goods you want out of the bank. Down here is the Factory R&D, which allows you to place a R&D token on a factory. This is the Business R&D, allows you to place a R&D token on the business. The Temp Worker is kind of interesting. If you choose the Temp Worker by placing it there, you take this little gray dude and you collect him and you put him in your supply. You don't get to use him until next turn. So it's kind of an investment, if you will. You're placing a worker here and kind of using him up for almost nothing, but the next turn you'll have an extra worker because you'll get this guy back and then you'll have that extra worker. So you're kind of giving up a little that one round, and then when the next round rolls around, if you are planning something and you need that extra worker, you'll have that extra little gray guy to work for you. And here we have the status location. I really like the status location. Status determines the player order. Normally, what happens when you do player order is you can see they're all lined up here: red, purple, green, yellow, and blue. Blue and yellow, sorry. Normally what happens if nobody took a status location, what will happen is that very standardly, the first one goes all the way to the back, and then you shift everybody forward like so. And so now red, who was first last round, is now last. And turn order is very important in this game because you get first pick of the buildings, first pick of the spots, and so on and so forth. However, if you take status, say like red took status, what would happen is that all of this you'd move everybody as normal, and then red would choose which location to take. So if red said, nah, you know what, I'm going back to first. So he'd take first spot, and everybody would slide back. And poor yellow now is going to be last to go twice in a row. Now, here's the really cool thing about this that I discovered about midway through my first game. I actually picked, like let's say I was blue, and I picked, after I took status, and we did the shifting, if you will, like so. I decided, well, I'm going to take second. And so what happened there is green shifted back, and and everybody went like and so I moved up just that one spot, and I shifted him back, and now so I was sitting there, and everybody was just kind of like, well, why'd you take second? And I said, because the vast majority of everybody that takes the status almost always takes the first spot. And so what happened is that, like the next turn, everybody kind of did that. But, say like purple or yellow took the status, they decided, well, I want to go first. So I got pushed back, and now I'm in second. And for about 3 or 4 turns in a row, I got to just go second. Not as good as first, but I never had to go all the way back to the beginning. I really like that, because you don't just automatically, you get to take the spot you want. You don't just automatically go to the head of the class, if you will. All right, the last part of the board I'm going to show you is to train new workers. Just like any worker placement game, having more pawns is important, obviously, and it gives you more actions. Now, but this is kind of you gotta mortgage a few actions basically to get another worker. What happens is you go to train worker, and you gotta pay $2,000 to do this. But you go here, and everybody's like extra worker just milling about here waiting to be trained by your guy. So basically you're sending a dude to the the school basically, and you place them down there, and that's the first turn. Next turn rolls around, and your guy will move here. So you go 2 turns without this particular worker. After the second turn is over, he comes back to you, and he pulls along this schlub that he just trained how to do his job, and they both go back to you. So it's one of these things where if you have to realize that you're going to be giving up an action for a turn, for 2 turns actually, and not have access to somebody because they're stuck down here. But is it worth it to get another guy? Yeah, it's situational. I mean, I'll fully admit the first time we played the game, everybody was just like, yeah, fine, train worker, let's do it. But after a while, people were like, you know what? Actually, I can do better if maybe I just take the temp worker, or what if I just I won't do it automatically. I don't need all 6 of my workers in the game. I can win the game with 5, and so it's a nice, interesting development. Whereas usually in a game with worker placement, everybody's just like, get all the workers you can because you want all the actions you can. And I really like when how they spin that about. It should be noted that every single location on the board is for one person only, except for the training worker location. So the spots run out really quick. That's why there's the factories that other people can use, and factories, once again, can only be used by one person. And there's the businesses, which can be used by any number of people. There's one last spot that has the union bribe, which is up here. And what happens with the union bribe is you go over there, and this is the one time you can actually use a factory that somebody else has used up. Say you have a really awesome factory, and somebody went ahead and took it from you, so now you can't use it. You can go to the union bribe, and then you can immediately place another meeple, place that on your cool factory, and there can be 2 people on that particular factory getting those resources. You can even use it yourself twice. So if you have a factory and you used it once, but you really want to use it again, you can place another worker there and then place another worker on your own factory. So you'd have 2 of your own dudes working on your factory in case you really needed those resources. Just like any other game, there's the track that goes around the outside, totaling up your points. You continue on, like I said. There's the from 1920 to 1927. So once you've gone through all the turns, you total up your victory points. You find out if there's any extra points you got from these corporate strategies if you met those requirements. And I should mention that a lot of times when it comes time to pay the piper, if you will, the upkeep on your buildings, you won't have enough money. You do have the option of taking out these loans. And so the loan will give you $3, and you have to have $5 to pay off the loan. This comes at the end of the game. If you don't have the money to pay this off, you lose 5 victory points. So, and loans are fairly common in these types of economic games, and it's just, once again, one of those things where it's like, do I really need the money right now? Probably, so, so it flips over, and so, like, there's actually the 2 loans in the back as well. But, so you're getting $6, $10, but, pretty self-explanatory, and like I said, if you've played some economic resource engine games, you've probably seen something like this. And that's how you play Titans of Industry. It's not really all that difficult, but I really like it because there never seems to be enough actions for what I want to do, and it's one of those things where, when it comes time for your turn, you know what you should do, but it's still sometimes very agonizing to decide between 2 or 3 decisions and trying to determine which one is going to work best for you. And I really like the fact that the spots are only used by one person, and so like I said, turn order is very important. And it just ultimately, like, you'll know exactly what you want to do, but by the time your turn comes around, that option is just not available to you, and that really, really drives you crazy. And you have to mix up your strategy and think on your feet, and continue to try to win the game. So, all right, there you go. Let me tell you, go into more depth and tell you exactly what I think of this game. Alright, one of the things that kind of stinks about doing reviews of Kickstarter games is that even though the prototypes sometimes look awesome, like this one, I don't have a box! Usually if you watch some of these videos, I usually do something funny with the box at this point. And yeah, it isn't funny, I understand that, but it's my thing. So, I have a game board though. I can go and I can like fold the game board away and you can see me. Anyway, but regardless. Titans of Industry. What did you think? Okay. I really enjoy the game, and I think it's pretty awesome, actually. I busted this out for my friends to play just recently, and when I pulled it out, and they're just like, oh, okay, is this? They usually want to play something that's been established and what have you, but they understand that I own all the board games pretty much in my group, and so if they want to play the stuff they like, they have to play the stuff that I get sent. And so we sat down and we played the game, and afterwards, everybody kind of like had that fun little, like, we got done playing, we discussed what we just played and what we thought about it. And everybody pretty much really enjoyed the game. They liked the interaction with the different workers and the different places. They liked the collection of the resources, and they liked, and there wasn't cubes per se, but, for lack of a better term, pushing the cubes, buying the cards, making those cool businesses and factories, and they really enjoyed how the game kind of progresses to the point where you don't really know what other people's like corporate strategy cards are, unless they turn them in, of course. But they're always wondering, what that corporate strategy card is that they're holding. What are they trying to collect? Are they just trying to collect a bunch of factories? Are they trying to collect buildings that create tar or create concrete, things like that? And they kind of try to gauge, where they're at, as far as the victory points go, and try to get an idea of where they're going to end up and where somebody else is going to end up, depending on what they have in front of them. Now, a fellow reviewer, when he heard that I was playing this game, and I was telling him about it, he asked me. He said he had read the rules, and he said it looked interesting, but he said, "Well, what about sameness? Is it doing anything really innovative?" Now, I get that. I totally understand that. And I'll be honest, I would really hate to be a game designer, especially if I was trying to make a Euro right now, because it'd be so tough to, like, come up with something completely and totally new. You're going to be standing on the shoulders of the people that came before you, and it's your job to take existing ideas, maybe twist them a little bit, present them in a different way, and make something fun. And I didn't have a real good answer for him. I mean, he kind of challenged me a bit. And this is somebody whose opinion I respect a great deal. And I said, well, you know what? I didn't feel like the game was new. But I have a group of people that, we've played everything. I mean, and multiple games of everything. You know, Stone Age. I'm just thinking of Euros with resource allocation and worker placement here. Stone Age, Caylus, Agricola, you know, Manhattan Project lately. You know, stuff that, you know, they have much of the same feel, you know, technically as far as the mechanics go, but for whatever reason, we enjoy them a great deal. Now, my like first ever game that was like worker placement that I ever fell in love with, that I still love to death, it's probably like one of my top 10 games, it is one of my top 10 games, is Pillars of the Earth. And I love Pillars of the Earth. I can play Pillars of the Earth constantly. And, you know, it's to the point where, you know, you learn a game so much that you just kind of, it's almost like you're on autopilot when you play it. But I still enjoy the heck out of that game. And now, and this game reminded me of a lot of things in Pillars of the Earth and Agricola and Caylus and so on and so forth. But it's its own entity. And I enjoyed it because of the challenge that it gave me. I enjoyed it because of the interaction that I had with the other players. Now, I do wish there was a little bit more interaction. I'm kind of one of those people that I like to muck with people a little bit more, and I like to mess with them and see what I can do to kind of change what they're doing. One of the expressly forbidden rules in the game, actually, is that you can't trade with anybody. You can't say, oh, you know, give me some of your glass and I'll give you some of your steel, or I'll give you $5 if you give me some concrete. You can't do that. And I think that would actually make the game a lot more fun. I mean, I haven't played it that way because I wanted to play the game pure, like the designer intended. But I mean, that would maybe possibly give it a little more player interaction, something that I really enjoy. But that's neither here nor there. Now, that's just a personal preference, though. I know a lot of people who don't like that. They like making their own little engine. They like making their own little resource collection victory point engine, and they really, really dig that. And if you dig that kind of game, you're gonna dig this game. I mean, it hits on all cylinders for that. There's a very limited number of actions you get because, you know, when you have to get more workers, because with worker placement games you're always trying to get more workers, right? I mean, it takes you 2 turns to get that investment back. So you have to decide if you're going to sacrifice a worker for that long and not be able to use them for that extra turn so you can get another one back. And, you know, usually you end up doing it, but, you know, it's something to consider. And so there's a fairly limited number of actions. I mean, I'm not perfect with numbers, but this is one of those games where you never feel like you have enough time to do exactly what you want to do. And I've said this before in other reviews, and what does that lead to? That leads to tough decisions to make on your turn. And then those tough decisions make the game challenging and fun. And that's what I really, really like about Titans of Industry. It challenges me. It's a good time. You know, even though the theme maybe, you know, it's just another factory or resource creation type thing, my friends and I still have a blast, you know, talking, you know, and trying to be an oil baron, you know, or what have you. In there, it's like, I control the tar of the nation, you know, stuff like that. And we have a good time, you know, acting out the stuff that's going on. Yeah, maybe you guys are all quiet when we play games, but, you know, my group isn't like that at all. It's constant jokes and ribbing. So, highly enjoyable. I highly suggest that if you're into Euros and the resource and worker placement, this is probably a great game. It'll fit on your shelf, and I definitely think you'll play it and enjoy it. And I strongly suggest that if you, after watching this, it's something you think that you want, go to their Kickstarter page for Titans of Industry and back the game. So hopefully we can get it published, and then, you know, 6 or so months down the line, we'll all get awesome, cool boxes with the cover art and our names on the cover or whatever it is that they're going to give away. I have to go check. I'm going to back it, so I got to go see what it is. I'm sure it's your name in the rule book or something like that, and that's always fun, right? You can like there's my name. So, all right, well, that's Titans of Industry. As always, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please post them below, and I will answer them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Until next time, this is Undead Viking. You have a great week, and enjoy your gaming.